We're going to go live right now to the Ontario Legislature, where a question period is underway. Let's listen in.
100,000 public sector workers, and New Democrats have been saying for years that Bill 124 was unconstitutional. That was affirmed by the courts. Bill 124 is unconstitutional. This is a hard-fought and long overdue victory for workers who deserve a government that will respect this decision and work with them to move forward. Why won't the Premier respect the court ruling and stop appealing yet another court loss for this government?
To reply, the Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I think the member opposite knows that we're reviewing the decision. We intend to appeal, and so I can't comment further how to comment there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Supplementary question.
Speaker, we have seen the consequences of this government's wage restraint across the public sector. But nowhere have the effects been more acute than in our healthcare sector, where Bill 124 has directly contributed to our province's current healthcare crisis. Given yesterday's ruling, will the government finally admit that Bill 124 has had a negative impact on our healthcare system?
Respond, the President of the Treasury Board.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As the Attorney General said, we are reviewing this decision. Our intention is to appeal, but we will speak to our investments in healthcare, and especially in health human resources. Since March of 2020, we have added over 12,000 healthcare professionals to the system. Just this year alone, the Ontario Colleges of Nurses has registered over 12,800 nurses just this year. And we still have 2 months to go. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to make these historic investments to support healthcare workers and the delivery of healthcare services all across this province.
And final supplementary, the member for Sudbury.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the Ontario Superior Court Justice threw out Bill 124 in its entirety, ruling it absolutely null and void. Justice Conan found that Ontario was not facing an economic situation that, in quotes, justified an infringement of charter rights, that the law was substantially interference on the constitutionally protected bargaining rights of hundreds of thousands of workers, Speaker. Bill 124 has been bad for workers in Ontario, period, and should never have seen the light of day in the first place. Speaker, it's long past time the government started showing workers the respect they deserve from day one. With the cost of living skyrocketing, Speaker, my question is, will the government get out of its own way, get out of the way workers' protected right to freely bargain a fair wage, and finally respect this decision?
Minister of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development.
Mr. Speaker, we're continuing working for workers every single day in Ontario. Mr. Speaker, that's why we partnered with private sector unions, employers, and tradespeople to bring in the building opportunities in the Skilled Trades Act to get tens of thousands of people into well-paying jobs in the province. Mr. Speaker, that's why we brought in historic legislation in Working for Workers 1 and Working for Workers 2 to ensure that workers have the right to disconnect. That for the first time in Canadian history, we're recognizing international credentials, so when newcomers come to this province, they can work in professions that they've studied. Mr. Speaker, we became the first in Canada to give truck drivers access to washroom facilities across this province. And Mr. Speaker, we are the first in North America to move forward with expanding portable benefits, so millions of workers that don't have health and dental benefits today are going to get those benefits under Premier Ford.
Question, the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, again to the Premier. Today's Auditor General report showed a real state of affairs, a sad state of affairs, on this government's stewardship of the environment. Under the Liberals, Ontario lost an average of 1,825 hectares of wetlands per year. And the wetlands that do remain have very little, if any, protection. Now, nearly half of Southern Ontario's remaining wetlands are at risk of being lost, with no requirements for wetland evaluation before land use changes. To the Premier, what does this government have against wetlands? Seriously, what do they have against them?
Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry.
Mr. Speaker, and thanks for the question. You know, the other side likes to talk about what could happen, might happen, maybe happen. I'll tell you what will happen. We're going to continue to protect wetlands here in Ontario. We're going to continue to protect those wetlands. We've got a plan, Mr. Speaker. We've got a plan to build 1.5 million homes in this province over the next 10 years and keep a robust ecological footprint. Home builders will still go through a process. Species at risk, there's legislation to cover that. Wetlands are disappearing. We've heard that. We've got an opportunity to not only preserve them, but expand them, and a plan to do that as well. So, Mr. Speaker, don't believe the hype, Mr. Speaker. Wetlands are here to stay in Ontario.